Okay, so here's the thing. I did not go to week 6. I was pretty sick. I couldn't even get out of bed. So I will not have a week 6 vlog because I wasn't even there. That's why there's no week 6 vlog, and I'm just gonna jump straight into week 7. I didn't get to film too much this week because a lot was happening, so I tried to get bits and pieces of what I was working on. So because I did miss a week, and missing a week usually means you're missing out on quite a bit, so I already came in feeling kind of stressed and a little bit overwhelmed because I knew I missed so much, and I just hate feeling behind on things. So I was like, okay, really gotta focus extra hard today. But luckily my coach, he was really nice. He sat down with me, he showed me line by line in the code what it does, why do we do it this way. I even restructured some methods, which was pretty cool, but I'll get into that in just a second. I'm just giving you a little quick and brief overview on what I worked on today. But before we keep going with the vlog, if you could just do me a huge favor, if you could just thumbs up this video. No, I don't get paid for it. For me, it just shows me that I'm doing a good job, and if you can subscribe to my channel. So I hope this video is helpful for those of you out there, whether you're a boy or a girl and you're just struggling. Sometimes it gets overwhelming when you're in those classes and you look around you and you're thinking, does anyone else understand this alienated language? Yeah, that's how I felt for such a long time. I felt like I was just not really learning to my full potential that I knew I could have. And honestly, I would just feel so lost and so frustrated, and I just couldn't understand how, like, it just felt like I was the only one suffering sometimes. And so the reason why I'm making these weekly bootcamp videos is because I just want to show you guys my journey and show you that, like, you can go from nothing to coding. I mean, I do have coding experience before I entered this bootcamp, but I do remember what it was like to struggle and not understand what is happening. Are any of you a computer science student, or you're doing a bootcamp? Let me know which one you are doing, and if you're struggling at all. I can understand it's very difficult, especially if you're stuck on a particular problem. But anyways, I'll go ahead and get into what I did in today's vlog. So once I got to Tech Ladies Bootcamp, I sat down with my coach for a while, and he just went over everything with me, just like I told you. And so what we are doing for this project is, I've explained this in some other videos, we are creating a quiz with 6 categories for you to pick from. You can pick all 6, you can pick 1, you can pick 3, you can pick as many as you want, 1 through 6. And then you answer questions in each category, and then it determines how environmentally friendly you are. So there's the 6 different categories, such as like eating a plant-based diet, being zero waste, biophilia. There's all sorts of categories for you to pick from. So we have our categories, our 6 categories, and then we have a bunch of questions under each category, and then we have a bunch of answers under each question that's under each category. So as you can see, that probably creates a fairly large table. So where will we be keeping that database, you know? So what I missed out on is that they were integrating Google Sheets API into the code. So I got taught how to do that again, so that way I know how it works, because I've never done that before. So it's kind of cool to see. What's pretty cool is that you can use Google Sheets as your back end, which I think is pretty cool. It makes things easier, that's for sure. The data is exposed so it's human readable, not just jumbled up in a bunch of code. Like, everyone can read a Google spreadsheet, so that's nice for the person that's inputting the data. Like, it'll be easy for them. They don't necessarily need to know how to code to do that. But something you have to be careful about is that human error can break the application and the code. Like, for example, when you're looking at the Google Sheets API, you'll see different values for different cells. So you have like different columns, like, you know, let's say we have a column called questions, or like ID number or something. If they decide they want to change the name of the ID number, not necessarily like the value that's inside, it could break the whole thing, because the variable name that we create from that, we literally just copy and paste. So if someone changes the name of that, then you have to go back to the code and fix it, because otherwise it won't work. So the Google Sheets API contains arrays and objects, so it's pretty hard to read once you get that data. but once you kind of understand, it's mostly that, you know, sometimes objects will be inside arrays, they'll be inside another object, inside another array, inside another array, inside another object, and it just gets really confusing, especially if they all have different key value pairs that contains objects and arrays, and it gets really messy really fast. But that's the nice thing about JavaScript, is it's really flexible. You can kind of make it do whatever you want. There's not as strict rules as other languages, so that's kind of cool. And then you can use JavaScript to get the data and manipulate it into your code. So that's what we did. We used the Google Sheets API to extract all the data in the sheet, and then we're like, okay, great, now we have to organize it. It's kind of like seeing a big bookcase. It's not ordered by name, it's not ordered by genre or any of that. So it's like seeing a big bookcase, and then you take all the books down, you put it down into a pile. How are you gonna organize it into your code? Now you're probably thinking, I'm sure there's a better way to do this. You know what, I'm sure there is, but for our specific needs, we wanna have control over what goes where, so it's better that we hand coded it ourselves. So then once you have all the books on the floor, aka the code, aka the Google Sheets API, then we go ahead and sort it, and then we create like rules, like, oh, if something is happening to this book, then it goes in this section with the rest of the books. So see what I mean? So that way, if we need to access in the code, we already have all that set up. We created that data structure in our code, and then we can use it however we please. I also learned the big difference between arrays versus objects. So when you're accessing an array, you need to know the actual index or position. If you don't, then you simply can't access it, or you just can't access it easily. But with objects, you just need to know the keys. Objects are actually better for storing data, because it can do everything that an array can and can't do. But technically arrays are objects, but arrays are more human readable and easier to understand and work with because they come with their own built-in methods, and just in general they're much easier to handle. I also learned how to make a GitHub pull request. So we were given like a little demonstration and a lecture on how to do it. So that was cool that we were able to make some changes and collaborate to a repository. We just did it on our own code as an example, so it's a little bit easier to understand. But next week, when my team and I are doing Hacktoberfest, I will be able to try it for my first time. Hopefully I get the free shirt, because these shirts are awesome. I like wearing shirts like these, they're fun. And because I've been getting tired of the terminal command line, I've decided I wanted to use source tree, especially if I'm having some sort of merge conflict, or before I push to the repository after I committed a change. I don't want to cause a merge conflict, so I want to see so before I commit, obviously I push, so I'll stash the code that I already made, which I'll talk about git stashing in a second. And then I pulled to see if any of my teammates have changed something, so that way nothing breaks. So I like source tree because it creates a nice user interface between me and Git. I am more of a visual person, so that makes sense, and I'm sure most of us are, because the command line can be kind of intimidating for first-time users that don't really understand how it works. Like, I remember for me, I was like, what am I doing? So maybe if you're first starting out with GitHub, you should maybe try using a source tree and then see how it works in the command line, because everything you can do in source tree is basically taken from the command line, but you're just making a pretty interface, you know? So that way you can just click things instead of type out specific commands. I like how there's a working copy section. That's really useful for me. I can see clearly which files have been changed, what lines have been deleted, what lines have been added, and I can manage hunks of code. Like, they're actually called hunks, which is okay. So basically I will use this more often now, unless I want to do something specific in the command line. I'll just keep both open, why not? And then git stash, what I was talking about earlier, is something that I just learned and I can't believe I didn't know this earlier. Okay, so git stash, you want to use it when you want to record the current state of the working directory or index, but you want to go back to a clean working directory. So I'll show you an example of this. I completely changed one method all the way around. One of my teammates was accessing data using arrays, but it was quite complicated and hard to read and understand unless you went line by line and dissected it. But I was given an instruction to change the data structure so that way it is accessed in objects instead. So that way there was way less lines of code and it was easier to read. But I didn't know if they were working on it or not. I wasn't sure if what I worked on will completely break their code. So I had them push their changes, and then I pulled and I saw the differences, and I saw, okay, looks like everything they did won't affect my code. So then I was able to take the code from the stash, I think that's what it's called, I don't know, I'm new to all this, okay, I'm learning here, and then I was able to put it back in the code and then push it, and yeah, I was able to keep my changes that I just temporarily put to the side, and then I took it back, and yeah, that's why git stash is useful. I don't think that was a good explanation, sorry, I hope that makes sense. Alright, well, that's all that I learned today. I hope you enjoyed today's vlog. I know it's not so much of a vlog, I'm just sitting down and then I just have some random clips of me working on the code, but I hope this has helped you anyways. So in next week's video, I will be at Hacktoberfest. Woo! I'm thinking maybe I should bring this guy for Hacktoberfest. Alright, well, thank you again for watching. Make sure you thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys!